listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast by Dr. T. Michael W. Halcomb, Dr. Fredrick J. Long, Dr. Mario Melendez, Dr. Jennifer Noonan, and J. M. Smith. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello, welcome back to Constituent Marking with Fred Long on Proof Text. And this is Fred Long, I'm your host. I am on this journey of constituent marking, 1 Corinthians chapters 12 through 14. And we're going one verse at a time, but I often will show and discuss other verses in the context because the grammar is unfolding and the information structure is coming from what has gone before and impacts what comes next. And so we need to see that. We're looking at verse 11 today. And I told you last time that we were going to see that verse 11 kind of pulls back and begins to generalize. And this is so important, this idea of generalizing or particularizing or building things to a climax or repeating things. These kinds of categories come from, I learned them from inductive Bible study, IBS, and not irritable bowel syndrome, but inductive Bible study. I actually co-founded a journal called the Journal of Inductive Biblical Studies with my mentor, David R. Bauer, from whom I learned inductive Bible study methodology. I can't stress how important this methodology is. If you go to that journal, you can search it and download PDFs for free. It's a great little journal, and we're doing some good work. And Dr. Bauer, David Bauer, is just a master at this. If you ever get a chance to take a class from him at Asbury Theological Seminary, I would strongly encourage it. But yeah, it's a great methodology. So these categories are important and they serve us well. So in verse 11, we see panta de tavta energi. Now I've single underlined energi because that's the main verb. I put a box around de, which marks new development. And what's happening here is that Paul is, in fact, adding something new, and the panta, tavta, gets a double underline because this is the direct object of energi. Energi means works out, and so he or it works out, panta, tavta, all things. So the de here I'd probably translate it as moreover. Moreover, all these things. Now, all these things is a generalizing notion with inclusive scope. The panta has inclusive scope. All these things refers back to the list that started 3 verses prior. And so be sure to watch or listen to the previous podcasts, Constituent Marking podcast, where we work through that. And what is the subject? Well, it's a compound modified subject. You have pneuma, and then you have a box around ke, and then you have en and to as modifiers. So the whole subject is to en ke to pneuma. All right. That is the subject. And it has 2 adjectival modifiers, en and to. So the one and the same spirit. The one and the same spirit, energi, works out, panta, tavta, all these things listed above. And then we have a subordinate clause started with the di erun, which is an interesting form. It's a participle. diareo with an on ending, which is the neuter nominative singular ending. This is a post-nuclear circumstantial participle. And what that means is that dierun is building off of the energi and explaining. This is post-nuclear explanatory. Actually, not. It means distributing, giving it about. He's giving it about to each own person, just as kathos, another conjunction subordinating boulete. And so this kathos clause is the second subordinate clause, and the distribution, the passing along, is then the first one. So I put brackets around the first one, and then I put brackets around the kathos clause. So the dierun, the participle clause, gets a one with it, and then it closes off at the end. And then the kathos, boulete, gets a second two because it's the second one. Yeah, so wow, the spirit. So the spirit, obviously, there's one and the same spirit. The stress of that is important from the context. All these diversities, even though there's diversities, we're not dealing with a different divinity or different gods or spirits or whatever. We're dealing with the one and the same spirit, who also exercises will, because distributing them to each person just as he wills. And it's interesting that the Spirit also uses the same verb that is used of God. Like God is the one who energizes all and all. So the Spirit is implicitly affirmed as working in tandem with, or as part of, however we want to distinguish that, O Theos, the God of verse 6. Yeah, so this is an indication that there's a Godhead attribute shared by the Spirit here. Yeah, so the Spirit has distributive power, has energizing power, distributing power, and will power. So there's three things here. If we were kind of pull this apart, he's energizing, he's distributing, and he's willing. And that's significant. Yeah, that'll preach as you think about the one and the same Spirit as member of the Godhead. All right, well, I hope you found this episode helpful, and look forward to having you listen and watch next time. Take care.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.